Yeah, need to be trained. Okay, hi, let me call today's a meeting to order. I want to start off, let me see, okay? I would like to call the March 4th, 2024 Franklin Township Board of Supervisors Workshop Meeting to order at, it's like 7:02 PM. In attendance are myself, Vice Chair Donna D, Supervisors Dowling, okay, Johnson, and Betsy's on the Zoom. And also we have Township Secretary Stacy is here, Stacy Hollis, and Melissa is also on Zoom. And of course, we have our Operations Manager, Jeff Eastburn, and he's over here. Thanks. I'd like to start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States.
Oh, as I said before, this meeting is going to be very much focused on PennDOT and the Route 896 traffic plan detour. And we have our representative from PennDOT who's going to do a little bit of a presentation. And then we're going to open it up to public comments. So folks, can ask questions. It's going to be very interactive. We'll put like an hour and a half aside to ask some of these questions. So can we turn it over to PennDOT, Jeff?
Bruce, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, I'm going to make you a co-host. So you should be able to start sharing.
Okay, could you also make Tom Lindsay co-host, because he's the one who will actually have the information to share.
Okay, that should have happened.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Thank you very much for inviting us tonight. What we're hoping to do tonight is to share with the group here the revised traffic control plan that we have created based on the proposals we had a few months ago, input that we've gotten from various and sundry places. And what we wanted to do was share with you what we currently have. This is based on a coordination we've done with Franklin Township, New London Township, London Britain Township, as well as the state of Maryland and the state of Delaware, because as you'll hear in a moment, the truck detour route goes through portions of Pennsylvania, Maryland, and Delaware. And in fact, one of the local detours will be going through multiple states as well, based on our conversations, coordinations, and adjustments that we've made. So with that introduction, I want to turn the presentation over to Tom Lindsay of KCI, who's assisting the Department of Transportation in developing this project, and have Tom run through the current plan. Tom.
All right, thank you, Bruce. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Great. Okay.
Tom, can you?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you, but can you blow up the screen so we can see the map better on our end, please?
Sure. I will zoom in this is about as close as I can get. Is that better?
Yes, that's good.
Okay. So if at any point I want to try to go not go in and out too much, but if any point you need a little more zoom, let me know and I'll be happy to try to do that. Okay, so and before I get too far, I also do want to introduce Brant Keeler is also on the Zoom. He's with my office as well, working on the project, and I may be asking him some questions, but I wanted to make you aware he is also on. So as Bruce said, the objective tonight is to present the traffic control for the 896 section SIP project. And for a very, very brief overview of the project, obviously we are in extreme southeastern Chester County. On this graphic, you can see the Pennsylvania-Maryland border horizontally, and then Delaware is down here in the lower right-hand corner. We've got 5 miles of safety improvements running from just about Chambers Rock Road on the south end to Cobbler's Lane on the north end. And when we're talking about traffic detours, we're really focusing on 6 stages that encompass 7 areas of total reconstruction. These are locations along the project length where we're doing significant changes in elevation or changes in roadway alignment. And the amount of work is more than can be done with flaggers during the day and open back up at night. And that's where we really come in with this necessity for some of these traffic detours. And that's what's shown on this plan as kind of the orange shaded areas are these areas of total reconstruction where we have detours in place for doing that work. So the first thing we wanted to talk about was the truck detour. What this plan actually is, and I'm going to scroll up just a little bit further. What this plan actually is our truck detour plan. And we will have a truck detour in place for the entire duration of construction, which will be, 3 years in the 3-year time frame. During that time, we will have a posted truck detour from essentially State Road up in New London all the way down to Newark. The trucks will be detoured southbound onto State Road, then to 472 in Pennsylvania, down to 213 in Maryland, 273 in Maryland, and that'll take them all the way to tie back into 896 down in Newark, with the northbound truck detour being the same routes, just in the opposite direction. So that'll be in place during the entire construction duration, and will be in place when all these other detours that we talk about are actually being implemented. Just a couple things to reference here. Our staging, we have stages 1, 2, 3, all the way up through 6. This is a traffic control plan that's developed by us, the designers. When a contractor is actually selected, the contractor does have the right to change that staging and change the order, but he would have to propose it to PennDOT and have that accepted. So when we talk about these stages, we don't know yet when they're exactly going to happen, but this is the way that we designed it, that the designers laid it out to propose to the contractor. And one other thing to note before I start talking about detours is about local access. So the detours are for through traffic. Access will be maintained to driveways at all times. For the most part, it will be maintained to side streets at all times. And I'll get into some of those locations where access will not be maintained to a side street. But the contractor will be responsible for coordinating with all of the property owners, with all of the emergency responders, with the townships, with the school district, to let you know when there are going to be these traffic impacts are implemented. But at no time, unless there's a long lead from a contractor and agreement by a property owner, will a property owner be restricted from their property. There will be access maintained to driveways at all times. It's a requirement for our contractors. So I'm going to get into our stages. I have like a couple pages here for our different stages, and I'm going to run through these kind of as quickly as I can because they get a little bit redundant. But I do want everybody to understand what the impacts and the detours are going to be. So stage 1, the work areas are between Walnut Glen Road and Hess Mill Road. There's actually 2 areas of reconstruction that we'll be doing at one time under one detour. And what you'll see in a lot of these stages is that we're trying to separate the northbound traffic detour from the southbound traffic detour to try to break the traffic up and decrease what's on the detour route. Sometimes it's not possible, but we try to do it in most cases. So in this case, stage 1, that is the case. We have a northbound detour where it's denoted by this dotted line, kind of these circles, where northbound traffic will be detoured to turn right onto 841 to go north, and then to go left on Hess Mill Road to come back to continue north on 896. The southbound detour for this stage then is on the west side of 896, and that is Church Road to Walnut Glen and back to 896. So southbound traffic makes the right on Church, the left on Walnut Glen, and back to 896, as denoted by the triangles. That one is fairly straightforward. This one I can't zoom in too much, unfortunately. Stage 2 is a work area at Good Hope Road. Good Hope is one of the locations where we have a fairly significant elevation change in the roadway, trying to improve sight distance. So at a time during this stage, there will be a closure of Good Hope Road from 896. You will not be able to turn onto Good Hope from 896. And also part of this stage, you will only be able to access Good Hope from the north on 896. Because of that elevation difference, we can only allow traffic to come down south on 896 to turn left onto Good Hope Road during part of this stage, and during part of it, that intersection is completely closed. The detours for the through traffic then would be northbound, again, is separate, Flint Hill Road, all the way up to 841 southbound, and back down to 896 northbound is the northbound detour. Southbound detour, again, is on the opposite side of 896. It's a right onto Appleton Road, a left onto Strickersville, left onto Flint Hill, and back to 896 will be the posted detour for southbound. So that's stage 2. Stage 3, this one I almost can't zoom in on at all. This is a detour that we have changed as we progress through design because of input on some original routes that we looked at. This work area is at Chambers Rock Road. It's kind of the extreme southern end of our project. And in this detour, we do not have a separate northbound and southbound detour. This is getting down to the area of the project where there aren't a lot of good routes to work around. So we have both northbound and southbound traffic is on the same route. And make sure I've got that right. I do. So the detour roads are Flint Hill down into Maryland, then Appleton Road in Maryland down to 273, and Wedgwood Road coming back up to 896. So that's one of those detours, like the truck detour that, as Bruce said, gets into Maryland, gets into Delaware, and we have coordinated with those departments of transportation about that detour. And then this is just the southbound detour. It's the same. The plan is different because we need some different signs, obviously, in that direction. So stage 3, both detours are on the same roads. All right, stage 4 is one of our most complicated construction stages. This is the intersection of 896 and 841, where we're going to be replacing the existing 4-way stop with a roundabout. And there will be significant work on Den Road adjacent to the intersection. So that's a very large, complicated construction area. There are 2 separate northbound detours, one for 841, one for 896, and 2 separate southbound detours. Again, one for 896 and one for 841. This plan shows the detours, the northbound detours. So 896 will approach from the south, make the right onto Gypsy Hill, be on 841 northbound for a short distance, and then left onto Hess Mill to get back to northbound 896. At the same time, northbound 841 will be detoured onto Peacedale to 896 north to Gypsy Hill to follow the 896 detour and back to 841 northbound. So those detours will be in place at the same time. And at the same time that those detours are in place, southbound 896 and southbound 841 will be detoured as well, because this entire intersection has to be closed to build the roundabout. Again, access will be provided to that point, but no through traffic, no through travel will be possible. So the southbound detours, 896 is the right on Den Road to Red Fox Lane to Carriage Run to southbound 841, then Peacedale back to 896. That's the 896 southbound detour. The 841 southbound detour is Hess Mill Road to 896 south, and then Red Fox and Carriage Run back to 841 southbound. So kind of a pair of detours for each direction there, because both 896 and 841 will have to be closed to through traffic.
Tom, can I ask a question?
Sure.
I know I brought this up before, and I apologize. I feel I need to be an advocate for the charter school. That detour you have going on Peacedale Road will go right alongside and right in front of the Avon Grove Charter School.
Right.
And I know I said this, and I don't mean any disrespect towards you guys, but if that goes through like that, that's going to be a nightmare with school buses, an absolute nightmare with buses and moms and dads picking up kids.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Tom, go ahead.
No, understood.
Just a minute, Tom.
Sure.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I want this to be interactive. So go ahead. Do you have a question for him? Yeah, and just say your name.
We do have a question from the member of the public who's standing at the microphone now.
Hi, I'm Sarah Beth Kohut. So the intersection, if you come from 841 south and turn onto, you're getting onto, well, I don't know what it is there, but then you get on.
Hess Mill.
No, the other way.
here? Oh.
Sorry. You're coming, you're south of 896 on 841
Mhm.
and you turn on, I don't think it's labeled there, but to the road that you would then make a left onto Peacedale.
Right.
So
Okay,
that intersection is really confusing. I think if you're on Peacedale turning right to go to 841, it's hard to describe it. I don't think there's a stop sign there. I'm just raising the concern that it's a confusing intersection with the way the stop sign is or isn't there. And the more traffic that's on that, you might want to address that as a safety issue.
And Ms. Coe, and the young lady is correct. It has never been an always stop there. So she's correct in what she's saying.
And is that this intersection right there? Is that
Yes.
is that the intersection that you're talking about?
That's it exactly.
Okay, great. Thank you. We will take a look at that. Okay, should I continue on?
Yes, please do.
All right. Okay, so moving on to stage 5. So stage 5 is work. I can't zoom out on this one. Is work at Scotts Glen. Scotts Glen is another location where we have a significant elevation difference in lowering the crest curves there and raising the sag right there at Scotts Glen. This is another one where during half of this stage, access will only be available to, so obviously Scotts Glen Road, before I get too far, there's no way to get into Scotts Glen Road from the other side because it dead ends. So we have to maintain at least one lane going into and out of Scotts Glen at all times. But what we have to do because of the grade changes there is part of this stage, you're only going to be able to get to Scotts Glen from the north. And part of the stage, you are only going to be able to get to Scotts Glen from the south. So you will always be able to get to Scotts Glen. You will always be able to get in and out of Scotts Glen. There will actually be a temporary traffic signal to regulate one lane of traffic coming in and out because the work area is so tight, but we need to provide access to all the people that live there. But there is that limitation where at times it may be that you can't approach it from one direction or the other. For this stage, we do have a split detour, and they're both shown on this map. The northbound detour is the circles, and it's 841, which will be completed with work at that intersection. So 841 northbound to Hess Mill and back to 896. And then the southbound, again, similar to the previous stage, is Den Road, Red Fox, Carriage Run, and back to 841. But because, again, the intersection at 896 and 841 will be open at that time, the roundabout will be completed.
Tom, can I ask one more question, please?
Sure.
I received a text message from one of our residents.
Okay.
Can you please go back to Peacedale Road at Walker down by Chesterville, please?
Is that's this one here?
That red circle there.
Okay.
Now, in the spirit of working together, PennDOT and the township, would one of your engineers be willing to look at that and state if it meets the warrants for an all-way stop?
Bruce,
And then if your answer is yes, then if it warrants it, we could put up the stop signs.
We can take a look at it for the construction situation. And if it warrants it for that, we could do that. But the question would be then if that would remain permanently. I mean, we can look at that situation, but it is possible that it would be warranted during construction and not warranted afterwards. But we can take a look at it.
If you would, that would be helpful. And I'm more than happy to work with you, Bruce, or one of your engineers on it.
And before you leave that slide, when you're going up Peacedale towards 841, that's a hill going up and going right and left. Those are blind. Those are blind. I do that all the time. So that might have to be looked at as well, because if you are going uphill towards 841, you cannot see to your right and you cannot see to your left. I'm just saying.
And Bruce, I know this comes down to law enforcement, and I love the Avondale State Police Barracks. They are great, but they cannot be everywhere at once. But the truck traffic on that road is amazing, and the speeds that the tractor trailers travel.
But Tom, am I correct in saying that unless they're local deliveries, they wouldn't be allowed on there because they'd be taking the truck detour that you talked about at the beginning of the presentation? Is that correct?
On 896. The truck's on 896.
Correct.
How about 841?
Do not have a separate truck detour for 841. Although
That's a very
Bruce,
dangerous intersection right there in that road.
We'll take a look at it.
we can look at those truck volumes on 841 too.
We have another comment. From the
Yeah,
public.
my name is Jerry Porter. I'm the roadmaster for New London Township. 841 is going to be an alternate unless the truck route detour is changed. 841 is going to be an alternate truck route for the trucks that are coming out of Delaware onto 273. When they go into 213, that becomes 841 at the intersection of 472. They continually now continue north on 841 to Louisville Road in New London Township, and then make a right turn or left, depending on what direction you're traveling, off of Louisville Road onto State and then into the village of New London. So I'm
going to go back to the truck detour so I
Yeah,
make sure I
I would-
understand what you're saying.
okay. I'll get to the point that I originally wanted to make. I would respectfully request that the truck route be modified as such to continue west on Route 213, or excuse me, on Route 273 to Route 272 in Calvert, Maryland, then north on 272, continuing on to US 1. New London Township has many concerns about particularly the sections of State Road, particularly in Elk Township. There's some very tight turns there, some very high banks. The intersection of State and 472 is extremely tight. And having all that semi-truck traffic going into the village of New London, and trying to make turns both north on 896 and then south, or heading south onto State Road, particularly given the fact that both of the school bus companies that service the Avon Grove School District are located in New London Township. On normal days, that intersection is pretty tight and very backed up. So I would, again, respectfully request that you take a look at modifying that truck route to continue west on 273, pick up 272, which incidentally, as you cross over into Pennsylvania from the Maryland side, it's already has signage indicating that it is a truck detour, and continue on to 272 and take it up to Route 1. Thank you.
Is that possible, or can you look into that? Or is it too late?
We can look at the possibility. I don't know if that would be something that we could do at this stage, but we'll look at it.
Thanks. Back to you.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to hit my last stage here. Which again, I can't zoom in too much on this one. So this is our stage 6. This is the work area at the intersection of 896 and Appleton Road. We will have a detour, a through traffic detour in place for this work, even though most of the time traffic will be maintained through this intersection with flaggers to get that work done. The detour routes that'll be in.
Could you just wait a second?
Sure.
So Jeff, we lost the picture, the map, so I just want to.
No, yes, and I'm trying to get that back, Tom.
Okay. I think it says I'm still sharing. You want me to try stopping and resharing?
Yes, please, sir.
Okay.
Excellent.
All right, you got it back?
Yes, sir.
You can make it a little bit bigger, yeah. I don't know if you can.
Larger, please, sir.
That's better.
Okay, that's about as big as I can get, or I'm going to lose part of it. Okay, so again, the work at Appleton Road and 896, for the most part, there will be at least traffic maintained through that intersection with flagging. It will not be fast, so we will still have a detour in place. This is another one where the northbound and southbound detour are the same, which if you're talking about from the south, it would be Flint Hill and 841. So traffic in both directions would take that detour around that work area. There will be one full weekend closure of this intersection of 896 and Appleton Road with just a lane maintained to Appleton with flagging for access. So again, we don't know when that's going to happen. That will depend on the contractor schedule when the contractor is selected. But there will be one weekend to actually get that work done because of the restricted work area at 896 and Appleton Road. The remainder of the work under the project is mill and overlay. So when all of these areas are done, there will most likely there will be the final blacktop put down for the entire length of the project for the most part. But that will be done with short-term flagging during the daytime, maintaining one lane with flagging. So that summarizes the traffic detours that we currently have designed.
Let me just stop you right now. Jim, you said you had some questions? So just, a board member would like to ask some questions. I'll turn it over to Jim.
Okay.
So the first question is, last time you were here, you said that the contractor might want to do these stages not in order. Are these in order now, the way you want them done? Is that going to stand, or you don't know yet?
Well, no. So it's the same. I'm going to flip back to the truck detour. It's the same situation. So which situation we were in before is that this is our design staging, but the contractor has the option to propose something different.
Okay. I just wanted to know. Thank you.
Sure.
And
Yep.
then, and then on, let's see, the stage 3. Let's see if you can pull that up. Yeah, that one. The why? I guess I don't to see the whole detour. Why didn't we use elbow lane and just cut over there instead of going all the way back down to 273 and back up to 896 on Wedgewood?
Right. There was concern about the geometry of that intersection.
Okay.
We had
And
I
initially
remember
turns.
talking
proposed,
about
Yep.
it.
we had
Yeah.
initially proposed to use elbow lane, and
Okay.
there were a series of areas along Elbow that were of great concern to quite a few folks, and we were asked if we could possibly discuss with Maryland and Delaware to use a different route. And we were able to negotiate with them what Tom is showing today. And that is a significant difference from the last detour plan that we did share.
Yep. Great. I just wanted to clarify that. And then I think I have one more. Yeah, on in stage 4, the southbound stage 4.
Okay.
Is there anything stopping if you're looking up the Gypsy Hill Road and Hess Mill Road intersection? Kind of like the top right. Yeah, right there. Is there anything stopping someone from coming down 841 and just continuing on Gypsy Hill? But that's
Go in this direction.
I'm sorry, not the this is going straight down, yeah. Yeah, to Gypsy Hill and going that way to 896.
There's nothing stopping them. And that would be right. That would be somebody on 841 that's being detoured.
Right.
There would be nothing stopping them from going down to Gypsy Hill and coming down to 896.
Okay.
No.
Just a question. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
That's all I had right now.
Okay, so I'm just gonna, I know you still have some presentation to make, but does anyone from the public want to look at these detour routes Any questions? Okay.
I have no further presentation to make, so it's
Go for it.
open.
So we're going to start. So what, thank you. Well, first of all, thank you for coming and thank you for doing such a nice job presenting. But now we're going to have the public ask some questions. So, come back again, give us your name and we'll entertain your question.
Hi, Sarah Beth Cohut again. I live on 896. I just wanted to make sure I understood some of this correctly. So with the different stages, is it accurate that we can expect one stage at a time to be going on?
Yes, the contractor may propose to do more than one at a time, but for the most part, the overlaps don't work. I would say yes, the expectation would be that it would be done one stage at a time.
Got it. And then the materials that were made available on the website had some pages after what you talked about that discuss like stage 1A, 1B, 1C. Can you explain what that means? Is that like a different stage that happens with the same detour for that stage?
No, so it's kind of sub-stages to those with the same detour. So, and I can kind of throw some of those sheets up because what you saw was our entire plan. And some of these locations can be built with just showing the detour, and some of them get a little more complicated, and that's why you see these additional sheets after the detour plans. But for example, this first one's probably a really good example. To maintain access to all of the different driveways, this is actually the Sunoco station, the gas station, and the little shopping center there. To maintain access to all of the different driveways here, we had to do a little more work in figuring out what pieces they would build, the contractor would build at each kind of step through this stage. The fact that these are shown as being stage 2A, 2B, 2C means that during that work, that stage 2 detour is in place the entire time.
Okay.
It's just these are kind of sub stages of work within that stage 2.
Got it. Thank you.
Sure.
And then, so as someone who lives along the pathway of this, is there, I guess my question is, what hours of the day could we expect construction to be taking place?
So construction will be done during daytime hours. The contractors have to follow the noise ordinances in the townships.
Okay.
We do not anticipate construction at night.
Great. And
How early in the morning?
I don't know that off the top of my head.
that is a good question because school traffic and so forth.
Bruce, I'll make sure you get a copy of our construction start times and
Please
we
do,
have.
Jeff. Yes, thank you.
Yep.
And then, again, as someone living along the path of this project, can we expect our mail delivery to continue on its regular schedule?
Yes, similar to the driveway access. Access needs to be maintained for postal delivery and for trash collection.
And emergency
yes.
vehicles.
Great, thank
Right.
you. And then one other traffic concern, I think when you showed the map for the stage 6 detour, and it was a 2-way detour. It goes.
So it's Flint Hill and 841.
And my eyes are bad and I can't see that far away, but I think it goes. Yeah, so the detour, and I understand this is a 2-way detour. So Flint Hill all the way up to 841 and then coming back down Chesterville Road. So I wanted to point out that intersection with Schoolhouse Road. So if you're coming southbound from the top tip of that 841 there, heading back towards 896, just after Schoolhouse Road is a very narrow bridge. I cross this bridge every day. a lot of people stop to yield to traffic there if there's a big truck coming, which I understand you have the detour in place, but just wanted to point out that is another area of concern, especially with additional traffic going in opposing directions for a two-way detour.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, she means right next to Mercer Mill Road, and we did mention that the last time you were here as well,
Okay.
that one lane bridge. Is it the Mercer, is it right next? Oh, right after schoolhouse? I thought you were.
Old schoolhouses before.
Okay.
And
There's
Bruce.
one right at the bottom of the hill, right near Mercer Mill Road as well.
And Bruce, I don't know if you can help us out with something or not, but right at Chesterville and Old Schoolhouse Road, there is a spring along the side of the road that likes to spread over 841. And the past couple of freezes, it's caused a couple of accidents. So I don't know if, before next winter, if PennDOT could do some ditching along that road, please.
What side of Schoolhouse is the spring on, Jeff? Do you know?
Well, to me, Chesterville runs west to east. I don't know what you call it, but I would say west of Schoolhouse Road for probably 200 feet.
At west or south?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I'm not very good at that, but going up that hill, if you're coming out of Old Schoolhouse Road and make a right, it would be for about 200 feet up that grade there. And the resident is right. It's awful narrow through there. People do have to wait, especially with big trucks on one side or the other of that big culvert.
Okay.
And one thing I wanted to bring up, someone whispered in my ear, does PennDOT ever hire the state police to help with traffic control during the day? I kind of remember seeing them along Route 1 and some other areas as well. Would they do this in this instance or see a reason to hire them?
The answer to your question is yes, PennDOT can do that. We do not anticipate the need for that on this project at this time.
All right, thank you. All right, so can I turn it over to you, Jeff? Okay, so there are a few folks online that want to ask some questions, so Jeff's gonna call them in one at a time. Thanks, Jeff.
Okay. Not trying to take anybody out of sequence. It's just who I see first. So let's go down the line with Matthew, and then we will go to Nancy Friggle. So Matthew, would you ask your
Yes.
question
Yeah, well, first state your name and say, yeah, with your.
and your address,
Yeah, yeah.
please?
Okay, first off, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, okay, Matthew Himmelstein, 127 Glen Ann Drive. It's bisected by the Township line with London, Britain, and Franklin. I commute to Newark, Delaware daily, and also up to Jennersville, and so this is all very much part of my lifeblood. Very, very well communicated. A couple quick questions. The ice situation on 841 I've seen in the past. A lot of these roads are combinations of township and state owned. I've made many calls to the state police, to PennDOT for objects in the road, trimming and so on. Some of them get answered, some don't. The townships tend to be better than PennDOT. But I would ask if there could be a general point made that these routes should be inspected for safe passage with low-hanging vegetation, especially with any trucks, with clearage of anything that's even partially protruding, across the white lines on the side of the road. I constantly stop and pick things up and cut things and when I can safely, but then I will call in when that's not a safe thing to do. The other question I have quickly is in terms of real-time monitoring of when different detours will take place, will there be a kind of an online capability of tracking that? That's my second and last question.
So Jeff, you'll put stuff on the website, right?
Yes, I've always offered to PennDOT if there's something I can put on our website, we're happy to do it. As well as on our Facebook page, but if PennDOT has a specific link for this project, I will continue to post it and bring it to the front of the line on social media.
So PennDOT, will you have any kind of a link that we could put out there for the folks?
Well, there is a project website on this. Jeff, what I'm going to do, as I've explained before, I'm responsible for shepherding this through design to construction. I will give you the contact person when that individual is selected, who will be in my place for the duration of construction, so that you can coordinate with him to make sure that information that you need from PennDOT is given to you, so that you can post it on your website.
And that's fine, Bruce, as long as you can help things along to make all of our lives easier. That would be
Yeah,
great.
I mean, if once this is in construction and you're having some issues that aren't being addressed, yes, you can reach out to me and I can see if I can grease some wheels if need be.
All right, Nancy, can you state your full name and your address and ask your question, please?
Yeah, thank you. My name is Nancy Friggle. I live at 103 Timber Jump Lane. I apologize. I joined the call about 5 minutes late. I had to restart up my Zoom. How long do we think this is going to take from stage 1, completing all the way to stage 6? That's my first question. And then I'm very late to the conversation about this, so I'm sure there was 100 conversations on why 896 and 841 couldn't just be a a traffic light. So could someone give me a quick sentence on why the circle is better than a traffic light? Circle is so invasive for the property and the land.
Okay, the answer to your first question is we're anticipating approximately 3 years from start to finish.
Okay, thank you.
The answer to your second question is there were several alternatives that were considered by the department, PennDOT, and in discussion with the township. And the solution that both parties said was good and could be moved forward was the roundabout. There was discussion of a traffic signal. There was a discussion of four-way stop, which is there today, quote, temporarily, end quote, and a discussion of a return to the two-way stop that was there before the four-way stop was put in place. All of that considered resulted in the selection of the roundabout.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Ryan, you're next in the queue. Can you state your name, please, and your address and ask your question? Hello, Ryan. Can you hear us? All right. Ryan may have stepped away from his
It looks
computer.
like he unmuted. Ryan, are you there?
I'm the roadmaster for London Britton Township. I have a couple questions. When do you expect the work to start? And since the detour roads are going to be heavily traveled now, who is responsible for the damages, if there is any, on the road edges or anything like that? Will that be the contractor, or will that come back to the township?
Okay, let me answer the first question first. So we currently are looking at having all the information out to the contractor community to bid on towards the end of this year, which would indicate a spring of 2025 start. The second question, are you asking damage that's done as part of the construction duration?
Yes, when
Okay.
the detour goes into effect, if the roads get damaged, who's responsible for fixing that? Will that go back to the contractor, or will that be the township's responsibility?
Okay, so the damage you're speaking of is not on 896 or 841. The damage is along the detour route, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we are putting a provision into the contract where the detour routes will be videoed before and after. And anything that is determined to have been caused in that duration is to be repaired by the contractor. Am I correct, Tom, that that is what we are in process of doing?
Yes.
Okay. That's was my understanding. I just want to make sure that we're there. So that answers that question.
All right. Sounds good. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Bruce, this is Jeff, and
Yep.
I got distracted for a minute, and I apologize if you answered this. But when you detour onto township roads, I think you agreed to videotape them beforehand and then afterwards.
Correct.
Is
That
it-
is what I said, and that is
Okay.
correct.
Thank you.
Jeff, yes.
Just to be picky, what if there's damage that occurs in between, right? We just have you come out and fix it then? Like, I don't know what kind of, some kind of
Well,
terrible.
okay, so all of that is the responsibility of the contractor. So it doesn't necessarily have to be done toward the end of the contract. It could be done during the contract. But all of this, in a great sense, PennDOT turns the road over from PennDOT responsibility to contractor responsibility during the duration of the construction. And this is kind of an extension of that.
Even the road the contractor's not fixing, they're
Well-
gonna be responsible for it.
So, well, yes, I mean, under certain circumstances. So if the increase in traffic results in ... then they would be responsible for that. If something else occurred, I don't know, a mudslide, which doesn't occur in southern Chester County. But if a mudslide occurred that had nothing to do with the contractor, they wouldn't be responsible for that, if that makes any sense.
It's more like a natural disaster would have happened whether the road was being used or not. So that's why that wouldn't count, right? It has to be
Correct.
something based on wear and tear. Okay. Thanks.
Exactly. Exactly.
Anthony, I think you're next in the queue. Hopefully I don't murder your last name, Anthony Bernadowsko.
That's all right. Thank you very much. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, sir. Can you state your full name for us and then your address, please, sir?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Anthony Bernadzakowski. My address is 102 Timber Jump Lane. Actually next, not quite next door neighbor to Nancy, but just about. Just wanted to thank you guys for putting this together. Thanks to the board. Thank you to PennDOT, to Tom as well for doing this. This is less of a question and more just, I guess, a comment. I wanted to express that I'm actually I'm just grateful that you guys are making these changes. I think especially about the roundabout at 841 and 896. I think that's a great thing to do. I think we know from empirical evidence that versus a four-way intersection or a two-way intersection, those cut down on traffic fatalities. As somebody who's been a resident of the township for more than 30 years, there's been a fair number of incidents at that intersection, including one where one of my high school classmates was very badly injured, and I think that's a great change. Also, really looking forward to seeing any sort of like traffic improvements and calming in Kemblesville. I know that something that the board has talked about with the master plan has been turning Kemblesville kind of into like a community hub and a village, and I'd absolutely love to see that happen because I think it would be great to have that kind of sense of community in that area. But yeah, that's it. Just wanted to kind of say thanks and that I'm excited about some of these changes, and I realize you guys very often might have like a little bit of a thankless job and dealing with a lot of unhappy people. So, yeah, thanks.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
Mr. Galligan, sir, would you like to say something?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I'm Dave Galligan. We're at the Plow Harrow Farm at where the circle's going in, and 1846 New London Road. The question I have is, when during the process your area is under construction, will there be constraints on the size of trucks that will have access to your property? What I'm thinking of is feed trucks and hay trucks that depending on the timing of when all this occurs, we'll need access, or those trucks will need to have access to our property.
Tom, I don't see why those would be restricted to you.
No, I mean, typically
Nothing
where
on
we're,
size,
I'm sorry, say that again.
nothing on weight or size.
No, I mean, there will be times when the contractor has to maintain a kind of a temporary lane access to certain properties, and yours is definitely one of those. But we can make sure that they coordinate with you so that they don't think that you can get by with an 8-foot wide access when you need 14.
Okay. Yeah. So this is something we'd coordinate with them, and it depends on at what time of the year, too. Is this our stage will be occurring? So
Sure.
all right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, we do have some members from our Amish community here tonight. I just wanted to see if they had any questions. If they did, if they wanted to come to the microphone, I can shut off the camera. Okay, they all look good, no questions. How about the West Grove Fire Company?
So what we might have to do is coordinate with them. Where's that Bernard guy?
We have him here. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Joshua Hawk. I'm the Deputy Chief of Operations for the West Grove Fire Company. We appreciate you guys being upfront with us on this and just making us part of the process as this moves along to help us plan for our emergency response to the southern end of our district. That includes Franklin and London Britton Townships. We're under the understanding that during this project, Aqua would be relocating a water main. And with that, they initially agreed to add 3 fire hydrants, 2 at the new traffic circle and then 1 at Gypsy Hill and 896. It's now our understanding that that will not be possible. Obviously, this is going to greatly affect our response to the southern end of the county, especially with water supply. Our closest fire hydrant on the southern end is located at Millhouse Drive, just over the line in New London Township. So for us to be able to shuttle water into the area, especially if there's going to be a complete closure of 896 at one point, that might not be possible. We would probably have to coordinate with the city of Newark in Delaware to try to make a way for us to shuttle water into the area. So if it's possible, we would just ask that Aqua revisit that, see if they're able to even add a hydrant with a restricted flow, possibly as low as 250 gallons a minute, solely for the purpose of being able to refill tanker trucks to service that area.
So is that possible? Is that even anything that you guys are responsible for?
So as was just mentioned, PennDOT and Aqua did have coordination based on a request via Franklin Township of West Grove's request for a hydrant at the roundabout. We had initially heard from Aqua that it would be possible to put 1, if not 2, hydrants at the roundabout and 1 at Gypsy Hill and A96, which has just been stated. However, when Aqua went to further make sure that that was possible, they realized that the capacity along that line that they have there is not of a volume, it's not of a pressure that they could provide a proper hydrant, and thereby ended up saying that they could not provide the adequate pressure, and thereby would not be able to put the hydrants in.
To put what fire out? I mean, it's like,
So it would be up to Aqua to determine if if I understand the fire company, you were suggesting that there'd be a less pressure that would be sufficient for your needs.
I don't know if you could do a less pressure, but a less gallons per minute rating for some fire hydrants. They're rated typically in 500 gallon per minute increments. So the lowest being 250 gallons a minute or less.
Okay.
Typically, that wouldn't be considered adequate for structural firefighting, but it could be used to refill tanker trucks.
Okay. would you be kind enough to provide that information to Jeff, who could give it to me, and then I could give it to Aqua and see if that would be something that their line has capacity for? And if so, then we could put those hydrants in.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you for being open to that, because as a homeowner, I'd like to have you have water when you come.
Bruce, I have a question I need to ask. I'm sorry.
Sure.
Again,
No, go right ahead, Jeff.
when those lines are put in on 896, which would be south of Gypsy Hill Road, I realize that it's going to be in conjunction with the work that you're doing. And I'm not very good at it, but my measuring tells me that they're probably going to tear up the first 50 or 60 feet of Gypsy Hill Road. With PennDOT having all that nice paving equipment out there doing that work, do they plan on doing that first part of Gypsy Hill Road for us?
Well, I think part of it would be the timing of Aqua's improvement versus this project's execution. If it can be coordinated in such a fashion where Aqua is in there and done, and so we would be there second, if you will, then yes, we would end up, and it's within the confines of 896. Yes, we could put the final pavement layer on there, but it would have to be coordinated. If we come in and we're done, and 6 months later Aqua comes through, then there's nothing we can do about that. Hopefully that makes sense.
No, makes total sense, but with your persuasion and my determination, maybe we can make it work with Aqua, maybe.
Okay.
I don't want to put the state police on the spot, but do you have any questions or anything you want to? Nope, the state police is good. Anybody else from our Zoom audience?
Just anybody else on the board? I know, Jim, you had your questions. You good? You good, John? How about Betsy? Betsy, we haven't heard from you. Any questions from you, Betsy? Okay, I think we're good. All right, I think this has been excellent. We really appreciate you very clearly presenting the plan to us, being open to suggestions. I can't say I'm looking forward to it. This poor woman who lives in 896.
You're looking forward to once it's completed.
Yeah, so but I think we continue to work with Jeff and make sure we get this information out to our residents so we know what's going on. But thank you very
You're very welcome, and thank you for
much.
providing.
Thank you everyone for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you for providing the forum for us. Thank you.
Thank you.